Next, on Current News, a humanitarian tragedy unfolding on the Greek island of Lesbos. We'll show you the dire situation and what's being done to help the suffering migrants. And why the vicar for Catholic schools is urging the parents of public school kids to enroll in diocesan schools. Also, some angels are answering the prayers of a Brooklyn church whose statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary was desecrated. And in the wake of Hurricane Maria, 4 dioceses in Puerto Rico are now getting tens of millions of dollars from the federal government. Plus, the details on the accusations of a COVID cover-up by the mayor of Nashville. The news starts right now. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. The situation is becoming increasingly desperate for thousands of migrants on the Greek island of Lesbos. The Holy Father has expressed his solidarity with them as calling for them to be treated with dignity. But since a fire ravaged a refugee camp, they are homeless and hungry. Current News' Emily Druby has more on this humanitarian tragedy.
Children and families sleeping in the streets, left with almost nothing after a fire ravaged the largest refugee camp in Greece called Moria, located on the island of Lesbos.
There is no any toilet, there is no any enough water, no food.
Pope Francis visited the now destroyed camp in 2016. After the fire, he said those who flee war or hunger deserve dignified help.
That a humane and dignified hospitality be assured to migrant women and men, refugees and those who seek asylum in Europe. I express my solidarity and closeness to all the victims of these dramatic experiences.
But for a while, the camp has been plagued with reports of overcrowding and unsanitary conditions. About 12,000 people were living there before the fire, at least 4,000 of them children. Many were there after risking everything to leave countries like Afghanistan and Syria.
We put our lives in danger to come here. We didn't know if we were going to live or die when we went into the sea. We thought we were going to die. We crossed the border. We had heard that there was respect for human rights here. But since we've arrived, nobody has helped us.
6 people have been arrested for starting the fires, including 2 minors. All are Afghan nationals. It's been over a week and still thousands are left without shelter. This aerial footage shows hundreds of temporary tents set up by the United Nations Human Rights Council in an effort to help.
What is needed: access to water, sanitation, hygiene, access to medical assistance.
Police are moving refugees into a new camp, but many are afraid to go, allegedly fearing more bad conditions. Medical attention is also essential, especially as the area continues to grapple with the coronavirus pandemic. A group from Doctors Without Borders on the ground in Moria say the fire made conditions much worse for their patients, warning that people shouldn't be put in another camp. Germany has vowed to take in 1,500 refugees, while 400 unaccompanied children have been flown to shelters in northern Greece. Emily Druby, Current News.
There are new details tonight about a private meeting Pope Francis held at the Vatican this week. It was with parents of children who identify as LGBT. Wednesday's meeting was not announced by the Vatican, and it was brief. The daily newspaper of the Italian Bishops' Conference broke the story. The Holy Father reportedly told the 40 parents gathered that God loves their children just as they are, and that the Church loves them because they are children of God. Back in Brooklyn, a Catholic priest has a message for parents.
You know it. School's open. St. Athanasius Catholic Academy is open. All the Catholic schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn, 66 elementary schools, 22,000 kids are back in school.
That's Monsignor David Casado, the vicar for Catholic schools in the Brooklyn Diocese and pastor of St. Athanasius Church in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Monsignor Casado says Catholic education is a great benefit for children, and while public schools are still struggling with their reopening schedule, Catholic schools throughout the diocese are opened and socially distanced. And tune in Monday to Currents News. Monsignor Casado will be on our program to talk about why public school parents should send their kids to Catholic schools. He said phones have been ringing off the hook. Again, that's Monday on Currents News. Holy Cross High School in Flushing, Queens has been scrubbing their school for safety. Their sanitation teams cleaning classrooms every period. The Catholic school opened up to a hybrid model with students separated into 2 groups and coming in every other day. Students are also required to have their temperatures checked before going on campus and to wear face masks throughout the day. Some angels have answered the prayers of a Coney Island church whose statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary was smashed last Friday. The Knights of Columbus has donated $10,000 to Our Lady of Solace Church in order to repair their broken image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. The statue was thrown from its shrine on September 11th, and the parish estimates repairs will cost around $6,000. As for the extra funds, the church's administrator, Father Javier Flores, says the money will be used for the Blessed Mother and no other purpose. 4 Catholic dioceses in Puerto Rico are getting some financial help from the federal government. They're receiving $82 million from FEMA to build stronger structures with a greater capacity to withstand future hurricanes and support the needs of more people. The island is still rebuilding after Hurricane Maria in 2017. About 1,000 church properties, including Catholic schools, were damaged by the storm. Just over 6 weeks until Election Day, but some voters are already hitting the polls. Both President Donald Trump and his Democratic challenger, former Vice President Joe Biden, were in Minnesota, which began early voting today. Since narrowly losing Minnesota in 2016, President Trump has focused a lot of attention on the state. Still, several polls over the past week show Biden is in the lead there. The early voting means the presidential race is now picking up steam. John Lawrence reports on the efforts being made on both sides to sway voters.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
I'm going to be America's president, not a Democratic president. I'm a Democrat, proud of it, but America's president.
And now the race for the White House escalates as early in-person voting and absentee voting begin in several states. Most mail-in ballot application deadlines are in October. It's a process the Trump administration has repeatedly blasted, making unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud.
Everyone knows mail-in ballots are a disaster. Oh, wait a minute. We just discovered 100,000 ballots. Every vote must be counted. Yeah, but we don't know where these freaking votes came from.
Biden calls such comments an attempt to delegitimize the election.
Look, if the president had even remote confidence he was likely to win the election, he wouldn't be doing this.
But there's greater interest in absentee and mail-in ballots nationwide this year due to COVID-19, and some fear the fraud claims could lead to problems.
We started 2020 seeing intense levels of voter suppression and voting discrimination, and that picture has been compounded by the pandemic.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The Supreme Court will soon be back in session, though over the phone. The High Court announcing that the justices will be working remotely because of the coronavirus pandemic. The building itself will be open for official business only and closed to the public. One of the arguments the court will hear in the new term starting October 5th is a case involving a Catholic social service agency that was excluded from Philadelphia's foster care program because they did not accept same-sex couples as foster parents. Now to the wildfires out west. A firefighter has died battling flames sparked by a gender reveal party. The National Forest Service has not released the firefighter's name, but says they died Thursday. The raging fire has been burning since September 5th, 70 miles east of Los Angeles in the San Bernardino National Forest. So far, the El Dorado fire has destroyed more than 22,000 acres and is now 66% contained. If you would like to help those affected by the wildfires, hurricanes, and any other recent natural disasters, you can go to donate at CatholicCharitiesUSA.org. Again, that's CatholicCharitiesUSA.org. There's a lot more news headed your way. A COVID cover-up. The mayor of Nashville is accused of lying about cases linked to bars and restaurants while keeping tough restrictions in place. Plus, the Archbishop of San Francisco says he won't be silent anymore. What he's saying about religious freedom in the time of coronavirus. And Israel goes on lockdown for the second time just as the Jewish High Holy Day season begins.
Now you can help us put your faith in the news. The next time you capture a newsworthy event, send us your pictures or video. It's easy. Go to netny.tv/send us, and you may see your submission on Currents News.
It's being called a COVID cover-up. The mayor of Nashville and the city's health department are accused of lying about the number of cases linked to bars and restaurants. This as strict restrictions were kept in place for those venues. Dennis Ferrer reports.
On June 30th, contact tracing was giving a small view of coronavirus clusters. Construction and nursing homes causing problems, more than 1,000 cases traced to each category. But bars and restaurants, a total of just 22 cases. Leslie Waller from the health department asked, quote, "This isn't going to be publicly released, right? Just info for mayor's office?" Correct. Not for public consumption, answers the mayor's senior advisor, Benjamin Eagles. 1 month later, the health department is asked point blank about the rumor that there are only 80 cases traced to bars and restaurants. Tennessean reporter Nate Rao asks, quote, "The figure you gave of more than 80 does lead to a natural question. If there have been over 20,000 positive cases of COVID-19 in Davidson and only 80 or so are traced to restaurants and bars, doesn't that mean restaurants and bars aren't a very big problem?" Metro Health Department spokesman Brian Todd asks 5 Metro Health Department officials the question, "Please advise how you recommend I respond." The name at the top of the response is clipped off, but you may find the answer unacceptable. Quote, "My 2 cents, we have certainly refused to give counts per bar because those numbers are low per site. We could still release the total though, and then a response to the over 80 could be, quote, because that number is increasing all the time and we don't want to say a specific number." Neither the health department or the mayor's office would confirm the authenticity of the emails. But Councilman Steve Glover asked a Metro staff attorney to inquire. Here's the official answer. "I was able to get verification from the mayor's office and the Department of Health that these emails are real," answered the staff attorney. Glover says this adds up to a cover-up.
They're fabricating information. They've blown their entire credibility now, Dennis. It's gone. I don't trust a thing they say going forward. Nothing.
Glover says he has been contacted by an endless stream of downtown bartenders, waitresses, and restaurant owners. Why would they not release these numbers?
We raised taxes 34%, and we put literally hundreds and thousands of people out of work that are now worrying about losing their homes, their apartments, etc. And we did it off of false information and bogus data. That should be illegal.
That was Dennis Ferrer reporting. So far, the mayor's office has not publicly responded to the accusations. The head of the San Francisco Archdiocese is putting pen to paper, calling on city officials to ease COVID restrictions on masses. Archbishop Salvatore Cordileone, writing in an op-ed for the Washington Post, "All we are seeking is access to worship in our own churches following reasonable safety protocols. The same freedoms now extended to customers of nail salons, massage services, and gyms." The city has had some of the strictest COVID restrictions on public worship in the country, allowing outdoor services with just 12 people in attendance. The city recently announced it would allow 50 people for outdoor worship, and starting October 1st, just 25 for indoor services. Archbishop Cordileone noted in his article that number is less than 1% of the capacity of San Francisco's cathedral. Archbishop Cordileone is organizing a protest of the city's restrictions on masses. The Eucharistic procession will begin this Sunday at 3 different parishes around the city before converging near San Francisco City Hall. The combined group will then head to the Cathedral of St. Mary of the Assumption, where several outdoor and socially distanced masses will be held. Archbishop Cordileone's call to reopen churches in San Francisco prompted House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to speak out. She said the Archbishop should listen to the science, but the Catholic who was elected in the San Francisco district also admitted she had recently attended Mass and received communion in the diocese, possibly in violation of public health orders. A Catholic Bible studies program that's been going strong for over 30 years had to make some changes this year because of the pandemic. The normally in-person class is going virtual, and organizers say that's a good thing. The leader of the Haitian apostolate, retired Auxiliary Bishop Guy SANSARICO, joins us now to tell us about it. And Bishop Guy, talk a little bit about the program. What does it teach and why is it important for people to learn?
Well, number one, it's directed to the Haitian population of the Diocese of Brooklyn. It's important for Catholics to have knowledge of Scripture, to have knowledge of Jesus Christ, and not simply knowledge, but to live in communion, to have a relationship. You know, too many Catholics are kind of vaguely informed of the teaching of the Church. So this program is meant to provide the Haitian population with good knowledge of the Bible. And number two, good knowledge of the doctrine of the Church, the creed, you know, who is God, who is Jesus, okay? And of course, what is a church according to Scripture, according to Jesus. So this is the content of the course, so that after the course, students or graduated students can take a leadership role in their parishes.
And now this program is only offered in Creole. Tell us why that is.
It is offered in Creole because similar programs exist already in English and in Spanish. So we really had to direct it to that particular population whose main language is Creole.
Okay. And now, because of the pandemic, you can't hold these classes in person. So what do you think about going virtual?
Well, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because many people don't know how to go virtual. But with this, we hope to reach out because it's a national office. It's not simply diocesan. We want to reach out to Haitians all over the United States and even Canada. And actually, through our efforts, because we have a weekly bulletins, we are in contact with Haitians in Brazil, in Mexico, in Cuba. Even we discovered that there are 110 Haitian students in China studying, you know, modern technology, intelligence, how, or do you call it, to achieve intelligence through the modern means, okay? They are studying engineering and all these sciences. They're all over the place.
Okay, so when does this program take place and how can people sign up?
We are beginning on October 3rd from 10 to 2. The classes will be given every second week, about 15 or 16 Saturday a year. So I invite the Haitians who are listening to really register because it's very important. We cannot remain Catholics that are vague, are really ignorant of their faith, and Catholics who really do not value the call to communion with the person of Jesus Christ.
All right, retired Auxiliary Bishop Guy Sansarico, thanks for being here to tell us about the program.
Thank you.
To register for the program, just send an email to collegepastoral@gmail.com. That's collegepastoral@gmail.com. The number of people in the pews in Ireland could drop dramatically in a survey by the Iona Institute for Religion and Society. 45% of people say they had not returned to Mass because of COVID-19. Another 22% said they couldn't because of the limited attendance of services. Public masses in Ireland resumed with restrictions on June 29th, but Irish bishops have lifted the obligation for Sunday Mass. Israel is on lockdown for the second time, just as the Jewish High Holy Day season begins. Trains are empty and there are very few people and little traffic on the streets. Shops are closed. This comes as Jews observe Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, which starts today. The new restrictions are nationwide, the first country to do that because of a drastic spike in new COVID-19 cases. There were more than 6,000 just on Wednesday. Still to come on Currents News, faith, family, and food. How a recent Xaverian grad used the quarantine to turn his Bay Ridge kitchen into a place to fuel his passion. And they said it wouldn't last. We'll meet the couple who is celebrating their 85th wedding anniversary. A A recent grad from Xaverian High School who spent part of his senior year learning from home decided to use the quarantine as an opportunity to indulge his passion for cooking. And with his faith and family behind him, it was a recipe for success. Carson News' Jessica Easthope has this future chef's story from Bay Ridge.
With a dash of determination and a whole lot of Parmesan cheese, Nathan Berg's culinary career is heating up.
Let's get started. I would love to own a restaurant or multiple restaurants, take a managerial position, but start off in the kitchen.
Though the pandemic took some of the steam out of his senior year at Xaverian High School, Nathan said it added zest to his passion for cooking.
I've had a lot more time to experiment in the kitchen. I've also been able to cook for my family more and do a little bit more comprehensive meals each night. So I think I've done some of my best cooking during the pandemic. So now once you have your pasta and pasta water into the pan with the pancetta grease.
Born and raised in Bay Ridge, Nathan's love of being in the kitchen started early.
I've always loved to cook. I love to watch my mom cook, my grandmother cook. And I grew up in a predominantly Italian-American household, so it kind of came as second nature.
Having recently graduated, Nathan was lifted up by his school community, especially when it came to his food Instagram account called Manja My Dudes.
Teachers started following faculty members. People would tell me the next day in class, like, oh, guess what we had for dinner? What you made. I want about 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt in there.
And the food he makes is just as authentic as he is. I'm getting ready to make Nathan's soon-to-be famous spaghetti carbonara. When it comes to secret ingredients, he has a few, but you won't find any of them on a spice rack.
To be Catholic, I mean, I feel like it's all about sharing something from yourself and giving it to others. So I feel like that's also the basis of cooking and food in general. Even in the Bible, I love the food verses, you know, like bread and wine and the loaves and fishes and all that.
Now Nathan is just beginning his freshman year at Cornell University, where he'll study hospitality.
Right now we are just warming up this olive oil.
Though his life's new menu will be constantly changing, Nathan's recipe for success will always be the original: faith, family, and food. Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
I'm hungry now. The Catholic population is booming in the Diocese of Charlotte, North Carolina, so much so that a new seminary has been opened in the area. Bishop Peter Jugis blessed the new St. Joseph's Seminary on Wednesday. The $200 million building features Gothic architecture, 40 dorm rooms, and 30,000 square feet of living and learning space. The diocese says they have an estimated 400,000 Catholics, a more than 10% increase since the diocese began. 41 men there are currently studying for the priesthood. And finally tonight, a young couple in Nebraska got married, and everyone said it wouldn't last. Boy, were they wrong. Dorothy and Ralph Kohler are celebrating their 85th wedding anniversary. Okay. That's right, 85 years of wedded bliss. You see, they got married when he was just 17, she was 16. Now they hold the record of America's oldest, longest living married couple. Wondering what their secret is?
Neither one of us ever smoked or drank, of which that was no problem.
I like to cook and he likes to eat.
Ralph and Dorothy have 3 kids and countless grandchildren and beyond. Congrats to them. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.